I know you are in the library, don't worry. I'll just keep on mentioning the points and I'll also keep on revisiting those. Whatever revision part we have to revisit, I'll revisit that. Okay. This is a typical section A question, a slightly older question. You can keep your camera off, no problem. Don't worry. I'll not enforce that. Okay. This is a typical Section A question with respect to companies, and it contains, like yesterday's question, like a whole gamut of different things, or different provisions, all of which will be tested at the same time. Now, what are they asking you? First of all, always read the requirement. Okay. Waverley Company or Waverley Unincorporated Business. State the conditions which must be satisfied in order for incorporation relief to be available on the sale of the unincorporated business to Roller Limited. You have to only refer to Exhibit 1. Explain whether Waverley will qualify for BADR on the disposal of shares in Roller. Prepare calculations of Waverley's total capital gains tax in the UK and in the country of Surferia in respect of both the sale of the unincorporated business to Roller Limited in the year 25-26, if any, and the sale of Roller Limited shares in the year 26-27. In respect of the sale of Roller Limited shares, you should consider two possible situations. First, whether Waverley is resident only in the UK at the time of sale, and second, where he is resident only in Surferia at the time of sale. You should not consider the rules concerning individuals who are temporarily non-UK resident. ठीक है? So, temporary UK residents वाला जो situation है that we saw in yesterday's question, they've specifically told you don't concern yourself with that. Keep it simple. तो ठीक है, we'll keep it simple that way. What else is given to you? Waverley residence status. Explain the maximum number of days which Waverley will be able to spend in the UK in tax year 26-27 without being UK resident. I have already concluded that for tax year 26-27, Waverley will be neither automatically resident overseas nor automatically resident in the UK. Basically, ये क्वेश्चन देख के मुझे क्या लग रहा है, they are somewhere asking you the sufficient ties because automatic non-resident case, he's not automatically resident abroad, not automatically resident in the UK. ठीक है. So right now let's concern ourselves with Exhibit 1. Exhibit 2 पे नहीं जाते हैं. Let's concern ourselves with one thing at a time. ठीक है. You should assume that today's date is 1st of September. Your manager has been advising a client Waverley on his plans to sell his business. Your manager has also been advising the Set Limited Group on various corporate tax issues. In addition to some ethical considerations which have been raised by your manager, advice is required in respect of the capital gains tax implications of the sale of Waverley's business, including incorporation relief and overseas aspect. Waverley's residence status, the disposal of integral features, relief for capital losses, VAT हो गया, exemptions from CFC, बहुत सारा है. ठीक है. Waverley was born in the UK to UK domicile parents in 1985. He divorced his wife in 2025. यहाँ पे ना there are 2023. There are some important markers. It's not as if gossip है that he divorced his wife. This is going to have an implication. ठीक है. His parents are UK domiciled. He divorced his wife. मतलब वो partner वाला test might not be fulfilled. His three children, all of whom are under 18, live with his ex-wife in the UK. ठीक है. Waverley began trading as a sole trader on 1st of March 2017. We are advising him on the sale of his unincorporated business with the objective of minimizing his capital gains tax liability. It has been concluded that it will be very difficult to sell the business as an unincorporated entity. So, Waverley is going to sell the business to a newly formed company which he owns, Roller Limited. Waverley will then sell his shares in Roller Limited. Waverley has decided to emigrate to the country of Surferia. He wants to make a fresh start and has heard from his friends that moving abroad could be advantageous from the point of view of UK tax. He will move to Surferia on 5th of April 2026. Waverley wants to see his children regularly and is also an enthusiastic member of an amateur football club, amateur football team in the UK. As a result, he intends to spend as many days as possible in the UK in year 26-27. He will continue to work for Roller Limited until the company is sold and is also possible And it is also possible that the purchaser of Roller Limited will ask Waverley to do further work for the company while he is in the UK. ठीक है. Waverley will sell his home in the UK in March 2026. The house is Waverley's private residence such that there will be no CGT in respect of its disposal. Once the house has been sold, Waverley is in the UK. Whenever Waverley is in the UK, he will stay in a hotel as he does not have any other UK property available for his use. When he is not in the UK, he will live in a new house which he plans to buy in Surfaria. Unincorporated business. Waverley will cease trading as a sole trader on 15th of Jan 2026 when he sells his unincorporated business to Roller Limited. Cease trading 15th of Jan 26. The assets of unincorporated business are expected to be worth 540 on 15th of Jan. They will be sold at market value to Roller Limited in exchange for $270 ordinary shares in the company. This will result in chargeable gain before incorporation relief of 1,40,000 on the business premises and 50,000 on goodwill. The shares in Roller Limited will be sold for 6 lakh at some point during the 6 months following Waverley's emigration to Surfaria. फर्स्ट पार्ट क्या पूछा है आपको? फर्स्ट पार्ट पूछा है कंडीशंस विच मस्ट बी सेटिस्फाइड इन ऑर्डर फॉर इनकॉर्पोरेशन रिलीफ टू बी अवेलेबल ऑन द सेल ऑफ अनइनकॉर्पोरेटेड बिजनेस. ये जो पार्ट है ना, दिस पार्ट ऑफ द क्वेश्चन, इट्स ओके टू नॉट रेफर to the facts of the case, because what have they asked you? They have only asked you conditions to be fulfilled for incorporation relief. You mention the word Roller Limited and all of this. आप ये सारा कुछ मेंशन करो, बट आप जस्ट मेंशन द टर्म्स एंड कंडीशंस. ठीक है, mention the name Roller Limited, mention all of that, but there is no need to refer to facts of the case in this situation. ठीक है. So पार्ट ए 1. ठीक है. Incorporation relief conditions. This is a question that has to be quoted from memory. ठीक है. Waverley's unincorporated business must be transferred to Roller Limited as a going concern. Waverley's unincorporated business should be transferred to Roller Limited as a going concern. ये पहला condition है. Then all the assets of the incorporated business other than cash have to be transferred. All the assets of the unincorporated business should be transferred except cash. Cash छोड़ के everything else. If cash नहीं किया तो भी चलता है. And the whole or part of the consideration for transfer must be in the form of issue of shares by Roller Limited to Waverley. The whole or part of the consideration must be in the form of shares of Roller Limited. ठीक है. If all of these conditions are fulfilled, then you get the incorporation relief. ठीक है. और क्या पूछा है आपको? State the conditions which must be satisfied for the incorporation relief to be available. Total question 10 marks का है. This part is for 2 marks. Write the conditions properly and you will get the 2 marks allocated. ठीक है. And इसमें the good part is you don't have to refer to the facts of the case. Straight away write it up. 2 marks are in your pocket. Next part of the question is explain whether Waverley will qualify for BADR on the disposal of shares in Roller Limited. Whenever questions like these are asked, SBR में भी हम ये करते थे, हम यहाँ पे भी सेम करेंगे. Make sure that you write down the provisions of the law. ठीक है. Mention कि what are the conditions that must be fulfilled, and once those conditions are fulfilled, पहले कंडीशन लिखो कि BADR का ये कंडीशन है, उसको मैच करो विथ फैक्ट्स ऑफ द केस एंड देन से दैट वेदर इट हैज बीन फुलफिल्ड और नॉट. ठीक है. अब बिजनेस असेट डिस्पोजल रिलीफ, applicability of business asset disposal relief, BADR. Now, the disposal of shares in Roller Limited will qualify for BADR if, see, this is disposal of shares, okay? If the company is a trading company, which रोलर कंपनी इज बाय द वे, है ना? इट इज अ ट्रेडिंग कंपनी, इट इज नॉट एन इन्वेस्टमेंट कंपनी। मतलब उसका काम म्यूचुअल फंड शेयर में पैसा इन्वेस्ट करना नहीं है। इट इज अ कंपनी विच एक्टिवली डज मैन्युफैक्चरिंग, बाइंग, सेलिंग ऑफ गुड्स। ठीक है। देन द वेवरली शुड ओन एट लीस्ट 5% शेयर्स इन द कंपनी। यहाँ पे वेवरली ओन्स 100% शेयर्स, है ना? पूरा का शेयर उसी के पास है। देन वेवरली शुड बी एन एम्प्लॉय ऑफ द कंपनी। पार्ट टाइम भी चलता है, फुल टाइम भी चलता है। ठीक है। वेवरली शुड बी एन एम्प्लॉय ऑफ द कंपनी एंड in this case, see, there is the minimum qualifying period wala condition, which says that he has to hold that particular asset for a period of at least 2 years. But in this case, see, where the incorporation relief applies, that means earlier the sole proprietor or the sole trader business was in Waverley's name. That business was transferred to Waverley. That business was transferred to Roller Limited, and he held all the shares in the role in that company, Roller Limited. है ना? So when incorporation relief applies and the transfer qualifies for, incorporation relief, then you will automatically come to realize कि यार he was holding on to the unincorporated business earlier ना। ऐसा नहीं है कि he was, वो उसी का business था। पूरा का पूरा business was transferred to a company and then he held on to the shares of that company for 6 months. Minimum qualifying period is 2 years. ठीक है। But while Waverley held on to the shares of Roller Limited for while Waverley held on to the shares of Roller Limited for 6 months, Roller Limited was formed was formed essentially out of transfer of assets owned by transfer of assets of an unincorporated business owned by Waverley himself, and he held on to the unincorporated business for more than 2 years. So the minimum qualifying period condition gets fulfilled. ठीक है। Minimum qualifying period condition gets fulfilled. So he the disposal of shares will be eligible for BADR. Hence, disposal of shares will be eligible for business asset disposal relief. ठीक है। यहाँ पे ये जो मिनिमम क्वालिफाइंग पीरियड वाला कंडीशन है वो क्रिटिकल है। बाकी का तो आपको, व्हेन यू रीड द क्वेश्चन यू विल रियलाइज कि यार वो तो इट्स अपेरेंट, नथिंग टू बी डन देयर। Up. Prepare calculations of Waverley's total CGT liability in the UK and in the country of surf area in respect of both the sale of the unincorporated business to Roller Limited in tax year 25-26, if any, and the sale of Roller Limited shares in tax year 26-27. In respect of the sale of Roller Limited shares, you should consider two possible scenarios. First, where Waverley is resident only in the UK at the time of sale, and second, where he is resident only in Surferia at the time of sale. टेम्पररीली नॉन यूके रेसिडेंट वाले रूल्स को मत देखना। ठीक है। नाउ यहाँ पे देखो, कम हियर। ठीक है। वेवरली सीज टू बी अ सोल ट्रेडर ऑन 15th of Jan 2026, राइट। लेट्स अज्यूम दैट ही लेट्स अज्यूम कि he is a resident in the country only at this time. First of all, let's talk about the sale of the unincorporated business to Roller Limited. ठीक है। When you transferred the unincorporated business to Roller Limited, chargeable gains before incorporation relief of 140 on business premises and 5 lakh, sorry, 50,000 in respect of goodwill. And while this is the amount of chargeable gain, assets of the unincorporated business were expected to be 5 lakh 40,000. These will be sold to Roller Limited in exchange for shares for 2,70,000 वन ऑर्डिनरी शेयर्स इन द कंपनी। यहाँ पे कैपिटल गेन कितना होगा? कैपिटल गेन इज गिवन टू यू ऑन बिजनेस प्रेमाइसेस 140, ऑन गुडविल 50,000। दैट एंटायर अमाउंट क्वालिफाइज फॉर इनकॉर्पोरेशन रिलीफ। ठीक है। व्हेन समथिंग क्वालिफाइज फॉर इनकॉर्पोरेशन रिलीफ, उसका भी इंप्लीकेशन वील हैव टू सी। ठीक है। सो गेन ऑन डिस्पोजल ऑफ अनइनकॉर्पोरेटेड बिजनेस टू रोलर लिमिटेड। ठीक है। इसमें क्या करेंगे हम? इसमें लेट्स व्हाट इज द अमाउंट ऑफ गेन ऑन डिस्पोजल ऑफ बिजनेस प्रेमाइसेस? कितना है गेन ऑन डिस्पोजल ऑफ बिजनेस प्रेमाइसेस? 1,40,000। Now what, let me just then gain on disposal of goodwill 50,000। अरे, एक जीरो ज्यादा हो गया। 50,000 टोटल गेन लेस इनकॉर्पोरेशन रिलीफ, कितना? 1,90,000। ठीक है। टैक्सेबल गेन zero. Now understand one thing, that whatever is the amount of incorporation relief claimed, that incorporation relief has to be adjusted against the cost of the shares that you are getting, है ना? The assets of the business are expected to be worth 5,40,000। ठीक है। Assets of the business are expected to be 5 lakh worth 5,40,000, and in exchange you are getting 2,70,000 ordinary shares in Waverley Limited। ठीक है। Now assets of the business transferred are worth 5,40,000. So 5,40,000 is the uh, value of consideration received in exchange of business transferred. So the value of 2,70,000 shares received is worth 5,40,000। ठीक है। So the shares that you have received are worth 5,40,000. There is incorporation relief of 1,90,000. So what is the updated base cost of shares? Updated base cost of shares is 5,40,000 minus incorporation relief of 1,90,000। ठीक है। कितना हो जाएगा? 5,40,000 minus 1,90,000, 3,50,000। Now the shares in Roller Limited are sold for how much? Shares in Roller Limited are sold for 6 lakh. So what is the amount of capital gain? Capital gain on disposal of shares in Roller Limited. Proceeds of disposal 6 lakh. अरे, less updated Base cost of shares 3,50,000. Chargeable gain 2,50,000. ठीक है. Now, if this person is in the UK, अच्छा ढूंढो तो is he a basic rate taxpayer or a higher rate taxpayer? Usually they give it to you. Do you see any information being given? I don't. Not yet. Not here. I don't see anything. But your tax rate will depend upon basic rate, higher rate, जो भी whatever slab he falls into. And in the country of Surferia, what is the tax rate on capital gains? Individuals who are resident in Surferia are subject to CGT on disposal of worldwide assets at the rate of 12%. There is no annual exempt amount. So CGT, if you are a person resident in UK, तो आपका CGT का rate either it can be 10 or 20. If you are in Surferia, it has to be 12%. ठीक है. So CGT on the gain will be at 10% slash 20% depending on slab of Waverley. CGT, so this is when he is resident in UK. CGT on gain will be at the rate of what? At the rate of 12%, which will amount to 30,000. This is when he is resident in Surferia. ठीक है. यहाँ पे 25 या whatever, and here it is 30%. And I think that is exactly what they had asked us. अच्छा हाँ, यहाँ पे लिखा है देखो, you should assume that Waverley will be a higher rate taxpayer in the years 25-26 and 26-27 if he is UK resident. So then naturally your answer should be governed by that. ठीक है. So keeping that in mind, आपको टैक्स कैलकुलेट करना पड़ेगा. 10 marks है. If you observe it now, see when you look at a question as long as this one, it is so easy to get overwhelmed कि यार इसमें कितना सारा information है, 5 पेज का तो question है. You will have all of these thoughts, but that is exactly where you need to control. Don't look at the full question. ना मैंने सिर्फ यही देखा ना. When I looked at part 1 and I knew that it only concerns exhibit 1. That is the good part. Only look at exhibit 1. Don't look at anything else. ठीक है. When you go to the second part, then talk about the second part. जैसे यहाँ पे अभी residential status का कुछ पूछा है. Explain the maximum number of days which Waverley will be able to spend in the UK in tax year 26-27 without being a UK resident. I have already concluded that for tax year 26-27, Waverley will be neither automatically resident nor automatically non-resident. Now that will depend upon, because he is neither automatically resident nor automatically non-resident, the number of days he can spend in the UK in year 26-27 will depend on the number of ties he has with the UK. ठीक है. अब एक ही टेस्ट बचता है ना, सफिशिएंट टाइज टेस्ट. The number of days that Waverley can spend in the UK in tax year 26-27 without being considered a UK resident will depend on the sufficient ties test. Now, अपना पेपर में टाइम कहाँ पे वेस्ट होता है? अंडरस्टैंड दैट. सी यहाँ पे they have written that he is neither automatically non-resident nor automatically resident. दोनों नहीं है. तो see, when I explain it to you, I have to tell you, okay, listen, he is not automatically non-resident. He is not automatically resident. Therefore, we should go to the sufficient ties test. It is for my explanation to you. But when you are writing the paper, you are not talking to a child, right? So no need to ट्रेस द होल जर्नी एंड से कि दिस इज वाई सफिशिएंट टाइज टेस्ट इज एप्लीकेबल, ये सब बोलने का जरूरत ही नहीं है। सीधा सफिशिएंट टाइज टेस्ट लगाओ और आगे निकलो। ठीक है। अब फॉर दिस आई वुड से लेट्स गो टू sufficient ties test। एक बार I'll paste a screenshot of that so that एक बार आपको वो कंपैरिजन के लिए मिल जाएगा। ठीक है। The sufficient ties by the way are given in the tax rates part which is given to you in the examination also। वहां पे नीचे लेफ्ट हैंड साइड में you get that tax table का link, right? So it's, you don't have to remember these things। हाँ, you will have to know what applies when and all of that, वो सब आपको याद रखना पड़ेगा, but you don't need to remember कि rates and all of that, you can manage that part relatively easier। ठीक है। let me copy the sufficient ties for you। ठीक है। give me a moment, I'll just paste it here। और वेदांत, पढ़ाई अच्छे से चल रही है?
सर यहाँ पे वेदर बहुत चेंज्ड है तो मेरे को साइनस का इशू है, तो मॉर्निंग में तो बहुत कोल्ड वोल्ड रहता है।
बाप रे।
तो पढ़ाई सही चल रही है सर। बस वो एक बार लिख लिख के कर रहा हूँ क्योंकि कंटेंट इतना ज़्यादा है, थोड़ा मिक्सअप
यस,
हो रहा है।
करेक्ट। अब ये देखो। ठीक है। you have to check whether this person, was he resident in the UK earlier, or was he not resident in the UK। ठीक है। वेवरली इन दिस केस was earlier resident in the UK, है ना। 26, when did he leave the country? He left the country on 15th of Jan 2026 if I am not mistaken। Let's come here and let's check the date। check करो when did he leave the country। Oh no, he moved to Surfiria on 5th of April 26। उसका टैक्स ईयर कब शुरू होता है? उसका टैक्स ईयर शुरू होता है 26-27, 6 ऑफ अप्रैल 26 से उसका न्यू टैक्स ईयर स्टार्ट्स। ठीक है। दे वॉन्ट यू टू डिटरमाइन द स्टेटस फॉर 26-27। नाउ फॉर अ पर्सन लीविंग द यूके। ठीक है। अ पर्सन, यहां पे ही वॉज अ पर्सन हु वॉज प्रीवियसली रेसिडेंट। चेक करो हाउ मेनी यूके टाइज आर फुलफिल्ड बाय दिस पर्सन। ठीक है। लेट्स टॉक अबाउट द फैमिली टाई फर्स्ट। डू यू थिंक ही फुलफिल्स द फैमिली टाई? What is the family tie? There is family, there is accommodation, there is work, there is days in the UK. There is one more. याद करो, what is the last one? You can type it out in the chat box, no problem. Let's explore the family tie first. Now tell me, when you are thinking about the family tie, uh, that what are you basically looking at? आप ये check कर रहे हो कि are there family members who are resident in the UK? When you talk about family members being resident in the UK, who all are covered here? Brother, sister, ये सब लोग cover होता है कि do we consider his spouse and his children? Ideally, that is what we should be looking at, right? Spouse and children. But what children? मतलब dependent children चाहिए कि कोई भी children चलेगा, है ना। सो दैट इज ऑल्सो समथिंग यू विल हैव टू इवेल्युएट कि हाउ मेनी ऑफ दोज टाइज आर बीइंग फुलफिल्ड राइट नाउ। ठीक है। सबसे पहला टाई दैट वी डिस्कस इज द फैमिली टाई। चेक करना पड़ेगा वेदर ही हैज फैमिली इन द यूके और नॉट। इन विच इज वाई आई टोल्ड यू, राइट, वहां पे जो डिवोर्स्ड वाइफ और ये सब लिखा है, ऑल ऑफ दैट इज एन इंपॉर्टेंट पार्ट। Divorced wife might not necessarily come under family. So, can you open your notes for a moment and check? मैं भी मतलब आई गिव यू अ मोमेंट। सी, फैमिली टाइज के लिए इट हैज टू बी क्लोज फैमिली, स्पाउस, सिविल पार्टनर और माइनर चिल्ड्रन इन द यूके दैट आर यूके रेसिडेंट। आई बिलीव ही हैज माइनर चिल्ड्रन इन द यूके दैट आर यूके रेसिडेंट। ठीक है। मैं ना यहाँ पे आपको आई विल गिव यू द सफिशियंट टाइज वाला दिस थिंग ऑल्सो। ठीक है। आपको दिखाते हैं साइड बाय साइड। इधर देखो। Family has close family, spouse or civil partner or minor children in the UK that are UK resident। इधर देखो। What does this information tell you? यहाँ देखो। All of all his three children, all of whom are under 18, live with his wife in the UK। एक्स वाइफ है, करंट वाइफ नहीं है. इफ दिस पर्सन इज हिज एक्स वाइफ but he has minor children who are under the age of 18, so he satisfies the family tie. Family tie. He has three children in the UK, all under the age of 18. ठीक है. Three children in the UK, all under the age of 18. So he fulfills the family tie test. ठीक है. Second test है accommodation. Has a house in the UK which is made use of during the tax year and is available for at least 91 days. Do you think he has a house in the UK? No, because he's leaving the country, right? Accommodation. Does not have a house in the United Kingdom in tax year 26-27. वो तो बोरिया बिस्तर बांध के चला गया, right? Then work. Does substantive work in the UK, that is work for at least 40 days in the UK. Now, if he fulfills the sufficient, अभी कुछ information है क्या देखो, do you have any information on that? Look at this part. सी यहाँ पे लिखा है वेवरली सेल्स हिज होम इन द यूके इन मार्च 26. तो घर तो है नहीं. इज ही वर्किंग इन द यूके? देखो. आई डोंट सी ही विल कंटिन्यू टू वर्क फॉर रोलर लिमिटेड until the company is sold, and it is possible that purchaser of roller limited might ask is likely to ask him to do further work for the company while he is in the UK. So just mention that if he works in the UK for 40 days or more, he will fulfill the work वाला condition. ठीक है. Work. Waverley will fulfill this condition if he works in the UK for 40 days or more. Then, days in the UK, has spent more than 90 days in the UK in either or both of the previous two tax years. Of course, because he was resident in the UK, he was staying there. ये हो गया आपका days in UK. Waverley was resident in the UK till tax year 2025-26 and has clearly spent more than 90 days in the United Kingdom in both the preceding tax years. Country spends more time in the UK than in any other country. This clause doesn't get fulfilled. Country. He does not spend more time in UK as compared to other countries. So Waverly will either satisfy two tests तो पक्का satisfy करेगा. Which two? He is clearly fulfilling the family tie test and he is fulfilling the days in UK test. If he works in the UK, he will fulfill a third test also. ये तो पक्का fulfill नहीं कर रहा है ना? ये fulfill नहीं कर रहा है, country वाला fulfill नहीं कर रहा है. But he might fulfill the third one. ठीक है. So for a person who is previously resident, ठीक है, if two UK ties, if three UK ties or more are fulfilled, he will be considered a UK resident if he is in the UK for 46 to 90 days, है ना, and if he satisfies only two tests, he can stay if days in the UK are 91 to 20 and two UK ties are fulfilled, then he is considered as a resident in the UK. So basically, he has to spend 90 days or less in the UK to not be considered as a UK resident. And if he fulfills three tests, then he'll be able to spend only 45 days in the UK without being considered a UK resident. ठीक है? Now, if he fulfills two ties, he will be able to spend up to 90 days in the UK without being considered a UK resident. And if he fulfills three ties, ठीक है, थ्री टाइज के केस में क्या है, इफ ही इज स्पेंडिंग 46 टू 90 डेज इन द यूके एंड ही फुलफिल्स थ्री टाइज, ही इज कंसिडर्ड अ रेसिडेंट. यहाँ पे ही इज फुलफिलिंग थ्री टाइज, सो ही हैज टू स्पेंड लेस देन 46 डेज इन द यूके, मतलब 45 डेज, अप टू 45 डेज इन द यूके विदाउट बीइंग कंसिडर्ड एज अ यूके रेसिडेंट. ठीक है, आई एम लेटिंग द टू स्क्रीनशॉट्स रिमेन हियर. ठीक है, एक बार देख लो. थोड़ा उल्टा सवाल पूछा. Usually they will say so many days in the UK decide the residential status. Here they are asking he doesn't want to be considered a UK resident. तो maximum कितना दिन spend कर सकता है in the UK? This is the answer to that. ठीक है, एक बार देख लो. ठीक है, चलो लुक एट द नेक्स्ट पार्ट. अभी ये एग्जिबिट वन का जो भी था ऑल ऑफ दैट इज डन. घोस्ट लिमिटेड कॉर्पोरेट टैक्स पेमेंट्स. Explain how the disposal of integral features should be dealt with in the period ending 31 March 2026. How Ghost Limited could make use of the losses of Steam Limited and Wagon Limited in the period ending 31 March 26. The payment of corporation tax which will need to be made by Ghost Limited in the period starting today, 1st of September 25 and ending on 31st of March 26. For the purpose of this explanation, please assume that Ghost Limited's corporate tax liability for the 8-month period ending 31st of March 26 is 4,60,000. तीन चीजें देखना है. डिस्पोजल ऑफ इंटीग्रल फीचर्स देखते हैं एक एक करके. कहाँ गया? एग्जिबिट 2. The finance director of the Set Limited group of companies has become seriously ill, and Delia, who is standing in for him, requires explanation of a number of matters. Extracts from an email from Delia are set out below. Set Limited has three wholly owned subsidiaries: Ghost Limited, Steam Limited, and Wagon Limited, and also owns shares in a number of other companies. Set Limited and all of its wholly owned subsidiaries are resident in the UK. You should assume that all of the UK resident companies in the Set Limited group, including Ghost Limited, pay corporation tax in installments every year and will continue to do so regardless of any loss relief planning entered into. I'm working on the corp tax installment payments which Ghost Limited will be required to pay in the period from now until 31st of March. Set Limited acquired the whole of the ordinary share capital of Ghost Limited on 1st of September 2025. Ghost Limited has always prepared accounts to 31 July, but following its acquisition has changed its accounting reference date to 31 March, in line with all of the other companies in the Set Limited group. The finalized corp tax liability of Ghost Limited for the year ended 31 July 2025 was 597,500. I am now estimating the company's liability for the 8-month period ending 31 March 26 so that I can determine the installment payments required. As part of this work, I need to know how to deal with the disposal of some integral features by Ghost Limited, which were sold in August 2025 for 3,15,000. Ghost Limited originally purchased the integral features for 11 lakh, claimed 10 lakh annual investment allowance, and the 50% first year allowance on the remaining 1 lakh. I also need to know if the company's corporation tax liability can be reduced in respect of the following. Steam Limited will sell a building on 1st of November 2025, which is expected to result in a loss. Wagon Limited has a trading loss brought forward as at 1st of April 2025 of 31,500. It is expected to make a further trading loss in the year 31 March 26. Now, let's talk about the integral features of the integral features वाला जो disposal है वो ठीक है. Now there is an AIA that has been claimed and there is a 50% FIA that has been claimed. ठीक है. अब ये 50% FIA जब claim होता है, how exactly are you supposed to deal with the loss? That is our first topic of discussion कि यहाँ पे what is different. There is an FIA that has been claimed. ठीक है. 50% FIA has been claimed, तो उसका impact क्या होगा on our calculations. ठीक है. Now, when we are talking about corporation tax liability, we have to understand कि देखो, एक तो यहाँ पे see you have to get it in your head कि calculation अलग है, which is why they have asked you. Otherwise, this would not have been a part of the question. Technically, FIA related, there are certain provisions that have been put across. Let's go back to the capital allowances sheet that we had made for companies. ठीक है. Give me one moment, I'll open the sheet. Let me take you to the relevant provision. ठीक है. ये देखो. Enhanced capital allowances. Companies purchasing new qualifying plant and machinery from 1st of April 2023 can claim 100% FIA for main pool assets, 50% FIA for special rate pool. Disposal of asset on which ECA is claimed. Disposal of assets that qualified for 130% super deduction or full expensing will trigger an immediate balancing charge equal to disposal. Disposal of equal to disposal proceeds. Disposal of assets that qualified for 50% FIA will trigger an immediate balancing charge calculated as proceeds into proportion of expenditure on which FIA is claimed into 50%. Proportion of expenditure on which FIA is claimed. ठीक है. So when you are in the special rate pool, this is how it is going to be calculated. ठीक है. So just writing it down here for your reference. Part B. ठीक है. Enhanced capital allowance of 50% was claimed here. आपका balancing charge होगा proceeds into proportion of expenditure on which FIA was claimed into 50%. ठीक है. अब what are these proceeds on which what are the proceeds of disposal? Check करो. Proceeds of disposal are 3,15,000. ठीक है. So here balancing charge 3,15,000 into proportion of expenditure on which FIA was claimed. The asset was worth 11 lakh. Proportion and FIA was claimed on 1 lakh. ठीक है. So उसका we'll have to write it down here. 1 lakh upon 11 lakh into 50%. That is balancing charge. कितना आएगा balancing charge? 14,318 है ना. Now the half of the proceeds relating to FIA will create a balancing charge. It will increase your trading profit. The other half of the proceeds as well as the proceeds relating to AIA will be deducted from special rate pool. ठीक है. So 14,318 is the amount of balancing charge. इससे क्या होगा? This will increase the trading profits. ठीक है. Now the other half of the proceeds, that is 14,318, will be deducted from special rate pool to arrive at TWDV. ठीक है. Now will be deducted from the special rate pool to arrive at TWDV. ठीक है. And remaining amount कितना है? remaining amount 3,15,000 total minus 14,318 balancing charge minus 14,318 deducted from pool. बचा कितना? 286,364. See, usually when you sell any asset, क्या होता है? The proceeds of that disposal are deducted from the asset pool and then you arrive at the TWDV. This will also be deducted from special rate pool. Only 14,318 will be added as balancing charge. Remaining amount will be deducted from the special rate pool. अब ये जो calculation है ये इतना unexpected है in the paper that most of the students will not be able to get it. See, to get things correct in ATX, all you need to do is you need to learn and relearn the provisions all over again. उसके लिए और कोई solution नहीं है अपने पास. जो भी प्रोविजन है, सी वंस यू रीड द प्रोविजन इट्स नॉट डिफिकल्ट. सो रिमेंबरिंग कि यार ये सारे प्रोविजंस मुझे याद करना है, दैट इज द ओनली थिंग दैट इज गोइंग टू कम टू योर रेस्क्यू. ठीक है. ये ऐसे तो मतलब if I have not learned it, there is no way I'll be able to get this answer in the paper. तो ये कितने मार्क्स थे? दिस पार्ट और डिस्पोजल ऑफ इंटीग्रल फीचर्स could very well be for 3 to 4 marks है ना. लेट मी चेक द मार्किंग स्कीम. मार्किंग स्कीम में इंटीग्रल फीचर्स इज फॉर 3.5 marks. सो क्वाइट इंपॉर्टेंट. 3.5 marks अगर आपको याद है तो आपको इजीली मिल जाएंगे. याद नहीं होगा तो फिर रोते बैठो. नेक्स्ट पार्ट इज हाउ घोस्ट लिमिटेड कुड मेक यूज ऑफ द लॉसेस ऑफ स्ट्रीम लिमिटेड एंड वैगन लिमिटेड इन मार्च 2026. ठीक है. कौन से कंपनीज है? घोस्ट लिमिटेड है, स्ट्रीम लिमिटेड and Wagon Limited. Stream Limited will sell a building on 1st of November, which is expected to result in a loss. Wagon Limited has a trading loss brought forward at 1st of April of 31,500. It is expected to make a further trading loss in the year 31 March 26. How do you think can Ghost Limited make use of this particular part? First of all, Ghost Limited and Wagon Limited, check करो whether they are a part of the लॉस. स्ट्रीम लिमिटेड एंड वैगन लिमिटेड दोनों का चेक करो whether they are a part of the लॉस रिलीफ ग्रुप और whether they are a part of the कैपिटल गेन्स ग्रुप. क्या इंफॉर्मेशन दिया है आपको? सेट हैज 3 wholly owned subsidiaries, Ghost, Stream and Wagon, and also owns shares in a number of UK companies. Set Limited and all of its wholly owned subsidiaries are resident in the UK. ठीक है. So, do you agree that if they are 100% wholly owned subsidiaries, then Ghost Limited, which is so sorry, ठीक है, घोस्ट लिमिटेड एंड स्टीम लिमिटेड है ना, दो कंपनीज का देखते हैं पहले. घोस्ट लिमिटेड एंड स्टीम लिमिटेड, both of these companies are 100% subsidiaries of Set Limited. So do you agree Ghost and Stream will be a part of the 75% capital gains group? ठीक है. Now the capital loss is being borne by Stream Limited, है ना. So एक पार्ट आपको समझना पड़ेगा कि स्ट्रीम लिमिटेड इज सेलिंग अ बिल्डिंग विच विल रिजल्ट इन अ लॉस. What Stream Limited can do is Stream Limited can transfer the asset to Ghost Limited at a no gain, no loss transfer, and then the loss can go to uh, can be borne by Ghost Limited, and this loss that is now incurred by Ghost Limited, it can be set off against chargeable gains after it became a member of the Set Limited group. यहाँ पे कोई dates दिया है क्या, when these companies join the group or not? Have they given you any dates कि the company joined the group on so and so date? चेक करो. Do you see a date? ठीक है. ये कौन सा पार्ट है? पार्ट पार्ट सी. देन घोस्ट लिमिटेड एंड स्टीम लिमिटेड. Mention that they are in the 75% gains group. ठीक है. Then mention that Steam Limited is incurring a loss. Steam to transfer asset to Ghost as a no gain, no loss transfer. Ghost to then sell it and loss is recorded for Ghost. ये भी एक तरीका है. Yeah, capital loss in respect of the disposal of building by Stream Limited. Capital loss can also be transferred, but it can only be offset against chargeable gains realized by Ghost after it became a member of the Set Limited group. ठीक है. Stream Limited can also transfer capital losses to Ghost Limited, but these can be adjusted against the these can be adjusted against capital gains of Ghost only after the company joined the group. Naturally, pre-entry का जो the loss that you have transferred, it cannot be adjusted against the pre-entry वाला gains. ठीक है. दूसरा जो कंपनी है, what is the other company? Wagon Limited. Wagon Limited has a trading loss brought forward at 1st of April of 31,500. It is expected to make a further trading loss. See, Set Limited owns 100% capital in all the companies. ठीक है. Excuse me. So all the companies are naturally a part of the loss relief group. ठीक है. When did Ghost Limited become a part of the group? कोई डेट दिया है आपको? Set Limited acquired the whole of the ordinary share capital of Ghost Limited on 1st of September 2025. ठीक है. So losses that were incurred by Wagon Limited after 1st of September 2025 can be adjusted. वो corresponding accounting period वाला calculation करके you will get that answer. Losses that were incurred before the company joined the group cannot be surrendered against the profits, right? सो वो एक आपको यू विल हैव टू मेंशन दैट फैक्ट कि लॉसेस विच वर इनकर्ड बिफोर द कंपनी ज्वाइंट द ग्रुप कैन नॉट बी एडजस्टेड, अदर लॉसेस कैन बी एडजस्टेड, कोई इशू नहीं है, राइट? एंड लॉस ब्रॉट फॉरवर्ड कैन नॉट बी सेट ऑफ बिकॉज द कंपनी वॉज नॉट अ पार्ट ऑफ द ग्रुप। तो एक ब्रॉट फॉरवर्ड लॉस भी है 31,500 वाला। Trading loss brought forward to the extent Wagon Limited cannot set this loss against its own total profit, it will have to be carried forward. It cannot be surrendered in the group. Make sense? Vedant, what do you think? बस यहाँ पे एक क्रिटिकल कैलकुलेशन रहेगा, दैट विल बी कॉरस्पॉन्डिंग अकाउंटिंग पीरियड, बेस्ट टू अंडरस्टैंड हाउ मेनी मंथ्स। सितंबर से लेके ट्रेडिंग लॉस ऑफ वैगन लिमिटेड इज फॉर हाउ मेनी मंथ्स, उसको इंटू 7/12 आपको करना पड़ेगा। प्रॉफिट ऑफ घोस्ट लिमिटेड भी आपको प्रोपोर्शनेट कैलकुलेट करना पड़ेगा, एंड देन यू विल हैव टू डू द एडजस्टमेंट। ठीक है, दैट इज द सेकंड पार्ट ऑफ द क्वेश्चन। ओके, नाउ look at payments of corp tax which will need to be made by Ghost Limited in the period starting today, 1st September 2025 and ending on 31 March 2026. For the purpose of this calculation, please assume that Ghost Limited's corporate tax liability is how much? For year ended 31st March 2026 is 4,60,000। ठीक है, और यहाँ पे इन रिस्पेक्ट, अच्छा, फर्स्ट ऑफ ऑल टेल मी व्हाट इज द अकाउंटिंग ईयर और दिस थिंग फॉर घोस्ट लिमिटेड, कितना है, देखो देख के बताओ। Ghost Limited has always prepared its accounts to 31 July, but following its acquisition, it has changed its accounting reference date to 31 March in line with all of the other companies in the Set Limited group। ठीक है, earlier it was 31st July, now they have made it 31st of March। तो कैसे करेंगे अभी बताइए मुझे। So current year must have started on 1st of August. It should have gone till 31st of July next year, but they said 31st of July तक लेके नहीं जाते हैं, 1st of August 2025 से लेके 31st of March 2026 तक ही करते हैं। सो अगस्त सितंबर अक्टूबर नवंबर दिसंबर जैन फेब एंड मार्च, 8 मंथ्स हो जाएगा, है ना? सो इंस्टॉलमेंट पेमेंट्स, पीरियड ऑफ अकाउंट 1st of August 25 टू 31st of March 26, कितना महीना हो गया, 8 मंथ्स हो गया। ठीक है, नाउ यू हैव टू मेक पेमेंट ऑफ कॉर्पोरेट टैक्स। ये करंट ईयर है, करंट पीरियड ऑफ अकाउंट है। इसके पहले वाला क्या था? इसके पहले का पीरियड ऑफ अकाउंट मस्ट हैव बिन 1st of August 24 टू 31 July 25। दिस वॉज 12 मंथ्स। मेक सेंस? नाउ टेल मी, ये जो सेकंड ईयर है, मतलब दिस ईयर दैट वी आर टॉकिंग अबाउट, period of account running from 1st of August 25 to 31st of March 26, when is the payment usually done? If you are making payment in installment, ठीक है, कब करना पड़ता है पेमेंट? 7, 10, 13, 16, those are the years for which you have to do the payment in installment। ठीक है, let me open the sheet, let me show it to you once। सॉरी, रॉन्ग शीट, एक सेकंड। ये देखो, पेमेंट ऑफ टैक्स, ठीक है, शॉर्ट अकाउंटिंग पीरियड्स, we are talking about payment in installment, first installment due by 14th day of 7th month after the start of AP, and then 7, 10, 13, 16 ऐसे जाता है। If it is a short accounting period, then For an accounting period of 3 months or less, applying the above installment rules would result in date of the first payment being later than the last payment. Therefore, in this situation, full tax due for the accounting period is due on the date of last installment. अपना less than 3 months वाला period नहीं है, अपना पीरियड है 8 मंथ्स का। ठीक है, सो 14th डे ऑफ 7th मंथ आफ्टर द स्टार्ट ऑफ द अकाउंटिंग पीरियड। ठीक है, आपका अकाउंटिंग पीरियड कब स्टार्ट हुआ? योर अकाउंटिंग पीरियड स्टार्टेड ऑन 1st ऑफ अगस्त 2025। तो व्हाट विल बी द डेट? 7th मंथ। अगस्त, सितंबर, अक्टूबर, नवंबर, दिसंबर, जैन एंड फेब। 7th मंथ आता है फेब, 14th ऑफ फेब। सो फर्स्ट इंस्टॉलमेंट ड्यू डेट 14th ऑफ फेब 26 को होगा। ठीक है, राइट? आर यू विथ मी? You can let me know in the chat box. But this is what they were asking, due date of payment that you have arrived at. ठीक है, again going back to the Excel sheet helped us to remember the provision. Now, Wagon Limited VAT. Explain the VAT implications of transactions to be carried out by Wagon Limited. Wagon Limited intends to purchase manufacturing components from Line Company. Line Company is a company resident in the country of Terminusa. There is no VAT in Terminusa. Wagon Limited is planning to sell goods to Signal Company. Signal Company is resident in France. Signal Company is a small company which is not required to be registered for VAT in France. Neither Line Company nor Signal Company has any links with Set Limited Group. I would like to know VAT implications. ठीक है, there is no फर्स्ट ट्रांजैक्शन किसके साथ है? फर्स्ट ट्रांजैक्शन इज विथ लाइन कंपनी। लाइन कंपनी इज इन अ कंट्री विच डज नॉट हैव वैट। ठीक है, यहाँ पे द अदर कंट्री डज नॉट हैव वैट, सो व्हेन यू इंपोर्ट गुड्स फ्रॉम द अदर कंट्री, यू आर द परचेसर, you will have to basically follow the postponed accounting scheme here, है ना? When you follow the postponed accounting scheme, when you purchase the goods, usually the liability for payment of VAT is with the seller or the supplier. यहाँ पे what you are saying is it is your transaction is with an entity in a country which does not have VAT. So when you purchase goods from that country, as a purchaser you have to pay VAT under the postponed accounting scheme reverse charge mechanism. आप VAT पे करो, immediately उसका input tax credit you can claim. Signal company is a company जिसको you are selling the goods, है ना? You are selling the goods to signal company. कहाँ चला गया VAT? हाँ, यहाँ है। Is planning to sell goods to signal company which is resident in France. Now, whenever an entity sells goods to another entity abroad, so the supplies are considered as zero rated supplies. See, zero rated supplies are also taxable supplies, but on that there is no VAT rate is 0%. तो लाइन कंपनी के केस में पोस्टपोन्ड अकाउंटिंग स्कीम रिवर्स चार्ज मैकेनिज्म, सिग्नल कंपनी के केस में दिस इज सेल टू अ फॉरेन एंटिटी, यू विल कंसिडर दैट टू बी जीरो रेटेड सप्लाईज। ठीक है, now last part of the question is delimited and n limited controlled foreign company CFC charge। ठीक है, Set Limited owns shares in two CFC, D company and N company. Both of these shares have chargeable profits for the purposes of the CFC legislation. Estimates of the relevant financial information in respect of the year ending 31st of March 26 are as follows। ठीक है, डी कंपनी, एन कंपनी, परसेंटेज ऑफ ऑर्डिनरी शेयर्स ओन्ड बाय सेट लिमिटेड, नॉन ट्रेडिंग इनकम, ऑपरेटिंग एक्सपेंडिचर, अकाउंटिंग प्रॉफिट, टैक्सेबल टोटल प्रॉफिट। ठीक है, I can see from my files that the only exemptions from a CFC charge requiring consideration are low profit exemption and the low profit margin exemption. I need to know whether Set Limited will be subject to a CFC charge in respect of either D company or N company. वो जो लो प्रॉफिट वाला एग्जेम्पशन है, इट व्हेन डज इट अप्लाई? डू यू रिमेम्बर? अच्छा, फर्स्ट ऑफ ऑल डी कंपनी में सेट लिमिटेड ओन्स लेस देन 25%, तो सीएफसी चार्ज डी कंपनी पे लगेगा ही नहीं। यू ओनली हैव टू इवेल्युएट फॉर एन कंपनी। ठीक है, द लो प्रॉफिट्स एग्जेम्पशन इज, डू यू रिमेम्बर सीएफसी चार्ज वाला क्या होता है? हाउ डू यू गो अबाउट इट? For that, you will have to go to the overseas aspect of corporation tax. There are five exemptions when it comes to the controlled foreign corporation. But your question specifically mentions कि पूरे exemption मत देखो, only look at the low profit and the low profit margin वाला exemption. ठीक है, let me take you there. CFCs, ठीक है, low profit CFCs TTP is 5 lakh or less, of which no more than 50,000 comprises non-trading profit. ठीक है, look at the other company which is N company. Its taxable total profit is 3,50,000, which is okay. ठीक है, it has taxable total profit of less than 5 lakh, no problem. What is the non-trading income of the company? Non-trading income should not be more than 50,000. ठीक है, नॉन ट्रेडिंग इनकम इज 65,000, तो इसके वजह से इट गेट्स इनवैलिडेटेड. द लो प्रॉफिट एग्जेम्पशन विल नॉट अप्लाई. लो प्रॉफिट एग्जेम्पशन में क्या है? लो प्रॉफिट एग्जेम्पशन स्पेसिफिकली सेज दैट टीटीपी इज 5 लाख और लेस, ऑफ विच नो मोर देन 50,000 इज नॉन ट्रेडिंग प्रॉफिट. दोनों कंडीशन होना चाहिए फुलफिल. यहाँ पे भले ही योर प्रॉफिट इज लेस देन 5 लाख, बट योर नॉन ट्रेडिंग इनकम इज 65,000 विच इज मोर देन 50,000, तो इट विल नॉट अप्लाई. अब एक और एग्जेम्पशन है. What is that? The low profit margin. Accounting profits are no more than 10% of relevant operating expenditure. Operating expenditure है 3,20,000. Accounting profit should be no more than 10% of this. It is less than 10%. So ये exemption में अटक जाएगा. It will get caught in the uh, low profit margin exemption, and therefore it will be exempt from the CFC charge. Make sense? है ना? सो अगेन आई एम गोइंग बैक टू द सेम थिंग. ये क्वेश्चन कौन कर पाएगा? ओनली दैट पर्सन हु रिमेंबर्स द एग्जेम्पशन, राइट? इफ यू डोंट रिमेंबर द एग्जेम्पशन, देर इज नो वे यू विल बी एबल टू टैकल दिस सिचुएशन. तो लर्निंग द प्रोविजंस इज द की टू सॉल्विंग एनी क्वेश्चन इन एटीएक्स. इफ यू कंपेयर इट विद अदर पेपर्स, अगर आपने एसबीएल के साथ कंपेयर किया, अगर आपने ट्रिपल ए के साथ कंपेयर किया, यू विल रियलाइज कि यार वहां पे आप आंसर कैसे लिखते हो इज वेरी इंपॉर्टेंट. That fetches you marks, or all of that. But in a paper like this, the stakes are very different. Guys, give me one moment. Okay, last thing. So हाँ, what I was telling you is this. See, ATX में अगर आपको पेपर क्लियर करना है, तो एक ही उसका आप रूल पकड़ के चलो. आपको प्रोविजंस लर्न करना पड़ेगा. And doing, see, when you do this question, you learned certain provisions. If I am in your place, what I would have done is I would have opened the relevant sheets. I would have gone through the enhanced capital allowance wala part. I would have gone through the residential status wala part. I would have gone through the CFC wala part. तो ये क्लास खत्म होने के बाद आई विल स्पेंड 1.5 hour एंड आई विल रिवाइज ऑल ऑफ दीज कॉन्सेप्ट्स. पेपर डे को आपका सक्सेस इन द पेपर डिपेंड्स ओनली ऑन हाउ मच यू रिमेंबर. यहाँ पे आप आंसर कैसे लिखते हो वो इतना इंपॉर्टेंट नहीं है. व्हाट इज इंपॉर्टेंट? आप आंसर में क्या लिखते हो. एज इन, आर यू कैलकुलेटिंग इट प्रॉपरली? ट्रिपल ए में हो गया, एसबीएल में हो गया, आपको सारा स्टोरी लिख रहे हो आप लंबा लंबा कि दिस इज द मटीरियलिटी लेवल, दिस इज एक्स वाई जेड ब्ला ब्ला ब्ला. हियर यू आर नॉट सपोज टू डू दैट. यू आर ओनली सपोज टू रिमेंबर द प्रोविजन एंड यू विल गेट योर आंसर राइट. जो सेक्शन ए में आपका एथिक्स वाला पार्ट है, आप कुछ 15 एक क्वेश्चन है आपके सेक्शन ए में, कुछ रिकॉर्डिंग में है, कुछ हम यहाँ पे कर रहे हैं. व्हेन यू गो थ्रू द एथिक्स वाला पार्ट ना, यू विल रियलाइज कि वो जो मैंने एक ब्लू पीडीएफ शेयर किया है, नहीं किया होगा तो फिर से कर दूंगा. दैट ब्लू पीडीएफ ना, इट्स देयर ऑन द एसीसीए वेबसाइट ऑल्सो. उसमें ACCA body has given a list of 10-15 scenario, 10-15 भी नहीं, 5-6 scenarios they have given. वही सिनेरियोस पेपर में आते हैं, तो वो 5 मार्क्स तो आपके अश्योर्ड हो सकते हैं, राइट? फिर वैट आता है. इस क्वेश्चन में वैट वॉज फॉर 4 मार्क्स. किसी क्वेश्चन में 5 मार्क्स का होता है, किसी क्वेश्चन में 6 का होता है. सो 5 मार्क्स फ्रॉम एथिक्स एंड 5 मार्क्स फ्रॉम वैट, 10 मार्क्स तो आपके ऐसे ही सिक्योर है. रिमेनिंग मार्क्स के लिए ऑफकोर्स एंड यू हैव टू लर्न द प्रोविजन. So that is how I think you should work on these questions. Don't spend time, in thinking too much कि how exactly the answer has to be presented. Learn the provisions. अगर आप provisions याद करके पेपर में जाओगे ना, आपका पेपर बहुत easily clear होगा. But एंड आई थिंक आई हैव शेयर दैट वन पीडीएफ, कुछ 80-90 पेजेस का पीडीएफ है, जिसमें कंपनी टैक्सेशन छोड़ के बाकी सब कुछ मैंने शॉर्ट फॉर्म और फ्लो चार्ट्स में बना के दिया है. तो मेक श्योर दैट यू लर्न दैट. दैट इज अनदर resource that you can use for quick revision. But abhi right now also you have more than 3 weeks. Make use of those 3 weeks properly and then get down to business. ठीक है? Are you with me?
यस सर।